How many people here are from District 10? Oh, so it's a pretty good crowd. I'm running a different, I feel bad for these guys. I'm running a different kind of race than they have to race. They're running against an incumbent congresswoman, I think, she's actually done some things. So I don't really sure if I agree with what she's done. She hasn't done some things. So I have a different kind of battle to fight. I don't know if I do have a website out. It's called CorriganforCongress.com, F-O-R, and I keep introducing myself. I'll try to do that really quickly, but I'm trying to leave more time for questions because it's such a rich field of opportunities that we can discuss about what's going on in Washington right now. I'm a 30-year veteran of manufacturing. I was involved with companies. I was involved in a number of different industries. I've been involved in a lot of economic development, a lot of manufacturing, and a lot of jobs growth, really throughout the world. I was born and raised in northeastern Ohio. I've seen a steady decline of northeastern Ohio throughout my entire life. And when I was born and raised in northeastern Ohio, I really was. I remember Fisher Foods. I don't know if anybody here remembers that. I remember Uncle Bill's. I remember when somebody wrote in the paper, it was a great line, that when the metro parks were called the Valley. So we grew up West Side, we call it the Valley, and now it's called something different. I have a lot of real life experience in 4 continents, looking at just economic development. I understand a couple of things. Number one, we cannot have job growth in northeastern Ohio without the proper business investment climate. Businesses do not come to areas that don't have the proper climate. When we have a congressman who's carrying a sign down Broadway Avenue advocating for a union, you may as well put an ad on the Super Bowl to businesses around the rest of the world. Don't come to northeastern Ohio. Now, even if there is a legitimate bona fide union issue, I'm not arguing that point. What I'm arguing about is the rush to glory that's creating an environment that causes business to say, no way, I don't want to be there. And I understand that because I've been in the position where we had to decide on where sites go all over the world. I've also done business in 30 countries. I speak a couple of languages and I've done business in other languages. I will not accept that we cannot manufacture in northeastern Ohio. I have an outstanding point of reference to understand this. We can make things in northeastern Ohio. There are a number of things that have to happen in order to do that. Every one of these guys said it had a couple of really good things. I'll give you my take on it, and I'll try to be done fairly quickly here. First, we need a domestic policy that encourages productivity and encourages a proper business investment climate. It encourages fair and mutual balance between the investors, the Wall Street guys, and labor and the people doing the work, the Main Street guys. We've got to have that. I'll surprise everyone in here as a conservative Republican and speak on behalf of the union at Hugo Boss. That union is getting hosed. That union is getting hosed. Now, when's the last time you heard a Republican say a union was getting hosed? That's what's going on at Hugo Boss. They're just making a site selection decision, and it's not being handled correctly by a number of people. But I'll speak just to one. I will say also the domestic policy. So we need to foster these kinds of things on the international side. We need to have re-industrialization policies and clauses in our trade agreements with all of these countries that we do business with. One of the most frustrating things as an international businessman, I will say this, my company, which I've resigned my position at my company. I manage 2,800 employees, and I resigned to run full-time against Dennis Kucinich because this man. I'm hoping the people that are clapping from District 10. But this man needs to be removed. We have a industrial trade. Excuse me. We need reindustrial trade policies when you're in business trying to manage and putting and competing with the Chinese, and their intellectual property agreements or their intellectual property enforcement is just non-existent compared to ours. The EPA enforcement in countries like Mexico and even Korea and China are non-existent, and we have this additional burden as a business to try to manufacture. I've seen this firsthand. I've seen it in different languages, and I've seen it all over the world. We need to reindustrialize our country, and we need to remove the disadvantages that businesses have. I just talked to this healthcare bill, which from a company perspective adds anywhere from 4 to 7% just on the basic cost of the products we make and we were exporting. My company is the last major manufacturer of heavy-duty electrical products in the United States. Everyone else is left. Korea, Mexico, Asia, Taiwan, Indonesia, and we're manufacturing in Western New York. And we're exporting to the rest of the world. And just you guys wait until September when Kucinich is talking about how bad Corrigan is because he exports jobs. Our company does not export jobs. We built jobs back into the United States, and we're competing with a climate that we can't compete with and we can't sustain with. So add 5% more, and our businesses in Brazil, and our businesses in India, our businesses in Eastern and Western Europe, they start drying up. This is what Washington doesn't understand. I'll say 2 more things. I'm really responding to some of the things these guys said. I looked at this as a Republican and Democrat. It's really not. Then I looked at it as conservative and liberal. And you know, I'm conservative. I'm going to say this. I'm starting to think it's not even that. I'm starting to think it's common sense and non-common sense. This bill is fraught with problems. They're passing a bad bill. They're passing a bad bill. And anyone in this room that says we don't need some kind of health care reform, I disagree with. We do need something. But putting a bad bill together, number 1. Number 2, spending a year to do it. And number 3, making that the top priority. When our top priority is jobs, is bad.
Okay, now we'll take, we are running a little behind, so we'll take just a couple of questions from Peter. Gene, go ahead.
Good evening. Gene Dodaro. Hi. Mr. Corrigan, we all remember very well what Kucinich did to Cleveland when he drove away the Hyatt Regency project. And we also know that it's my experience that states like Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia have done a marvelous job of attracting manufacturers there. I just recently came back from Alabama where they have not only a Kia plant, but a Hyundai plant and a steel plant. And what would you do like them to attract those same companies back to the Northeast Ohio area?
I wouldn't carry a sign on Broadway Avenue. We had a plant in Alabama. You know, all due respect to the workers in Alabama, the workers in Northeastern Ohio are far more educated and far more skilled and far more productive than what we have in Alabama. Our congressman is responsible for NASA. NASA's twin plant is Marshall. And at one point in time, they had about the same number of employment. They had 3,000 employees. We have 3,000 employees now, right now, at the Glenn Center. And Marshall has 26,000. They're working on projects that are similar in advanced manufacturing projects. And Marshall's just completely outmaneuvering us. Now, I want to keep a lid on the spending, but I'd like to keep what we have. And when every year, every couple of years, we lose 600 jobs or 1,000 jobs to Marshall, that's really wrong. You know, and once again, common sense. Where's our congressman? We lost National City Bank. We just watched about 2,500 high-paying jobs get flushed out of Cleveland. And National City Bank was the only bank in the TARP, that didn't get TARP relief in the top 25. They still did, and they've only spent $109 billion. They had $699 billion to spend on TARP, and no money went to National City Bank. Why is that? And one more thing of common sense. With Kucinich's vote, the best thing we got in Northeastern Ohio is Cleveland Clinic. He just put a bullet through Cleveland Clinic. How ridiculous is that? So this man needs to go.